Hello and welcome to the University of Victoria Registration 101 presentation. This presentation is geared towards helping you prepare for course registration. This includes such topics as academic requirements associated with your program, how to plan out your program based on your academic areas of interest, how do you actually register for your courses, what does that look like, what are some supports and resources that are out there to help you throughout this process, and what are some actionable next steps once you have registered for your courses. The first thing that you want to take care of, if you've not already done so, is to submit your $200 acceptance deposit to accept your offer of admission. You'll also need to create a NetLink ID, as you'll be using this for registering for your courses. You'll also want to make sure that you've arranged for your final official transcripts to be sent to the undergraduate admissions office when they're ready. If you happen to be in Alberta, BC, or the Yukon, or Ontario, there are these centralized services that will send your transcripts on your behalf, provided that you've granted permission for them to do so. Other provinces or countries, you'll need to arrange with either the issuing institution or from your regional Ministry of Education to have your final official transcripts sent in when they're ready. If you're a post-secondary student and are transferring into programming at the University of Victoria, then you'll need to arrange with your institution to have those final official transcripts sent in when they're ready. This also extends to high school students that might have completed a dual credit course at a local post-secondary institution. You'll need to arrange with that post-secondary institution to send in your final official transcripts to the undergraduate admissions office so that we can evaluate them for any possible transfer credit. Onto academic requirements. So here's some common terminology that's used within the registration process, but just in university in general. So to make sure we're all on the same page, undergraduate studies means a bachelor's degree program. This is what this presentation is focused on, preparing you for registration for undergraduate programming. Graduate level studies, or a master's degree, typically require the completion of a bachelor's or undergraduate degree prior to entering a graduate program. A faculty is a collective term. I think of it as an organizational term under which several programs, which are part of corresponding departments, fall. So for example, in the Faculty of Science, you'll find several different programs and departments like biology, physics and astronomy, biochemistry and microbiology, earth and ocean sciences. All of these programs are part of departments that fall under the Faculty of Science. A major is your main area of focus within your degree. If you're a political science student, then you are majoring in political science. A minor is a secondary area of specialization, which requires the completion of fewer courses to achieve, essentially. So maybe you're majoring in political science, but you're also interested in linguistics. You can either take a couple elective courses in linguistics to suit your interest, or if you're interested in receiving a specialization in that area, then you can minor in linguistics along with your major in political science. And a concentration is a subset of your required courses that are geared towards the specific area of your major. For example, if you're a biology student, you have the opportunity to concentrate in marine biology, meaning that predominantly in the third and fourth year of your programming, you'll have some specific marine biology related courses that you'll need to achieve to receive that concentration. And then these are a bunch of short forms for various degrees offered at the University of Victoria at the undergraduate level. BA is Bachelor of Arts, BEd, Bachelor of Education, BSc is Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of CY, or Bachelor of Child and Youth Care is BCYC. You get the picture. So when you're planning your degree, there are a few different levels of consideration that you'll need to make. First off are university-wide requirements. Requirements of every student at the university regardless of program, namely the academic writing requirement, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. You'll also have specific course requirements depending on the program, the major, the minor, the concentration that you're looking to achieve. So you'll need to pay attention to those, as well as some programs have additional requirements that are outside of the scope of academic courses. For example, co-op is a requirement for both the engineering program and the commerce program, for example. And while they're not courses, that is a requirement to achieve those credentials. A similar concept with practicum placements for the elementary education program or the social work program or the nursing program. For that university-wide requirement of the academic writing requirement, there are several ways you could satisfy this through prior study. A score of at least 86% on the BC English 12 or English 12 First Peoples Provincial Exam can meet this requirement, provided you completed the exam within the 3 years immediately prior to admission. Similarly, a final grade of at least 86% in BC English Studies 12, English First Peoples 12, or an approved equivalent Canadian Provincial High School Curriculum course completed within the 3 years prior to admission can satisfy this requirement. Another way is to receive transfer credit for ATWP 135, English 135, 146, or 147, or Engineering 110. These can all satisfy that requirement. So if you haven't met the academic writing requirement through prior studies, all that means is that during your degree, you will have to complete one of ATWP 135, English 146 or 147, or Engineering 110 if you're an engineering student, in order to satisfy this university-wide requirement. On to program planning. Here's some common terminology used during the program planning process. A program is a collection of courses. So if you're majoring in political science, you could say, I'm in the political science program. That program is going to be made up of several courses. It typically takes 40 courses to achieve a 60-unit bachelor's degree. Required courses versus elective courses. Required courses you're required to take. If you're majoring in a particular area and this course is required for that major, then you must take that specific course. You'll also have elective courses that you can take outside of that main area of discipline. A unit is synonymous with a credit. It's a weighting of a course. So each course that runs from September to December or January to April, for example, one semester course would be worth 1.5 units in general. Some courses are worth 3 units. Typically that means they run for the full academic year, September all the way through April. And there are some courses that are worth less than 1.5 units. So the unit weighting of a course is something that you want to be paying attention to when you're actually registering. A prerequisite is a course that you must complete before you're able to complete the course that it's a prerequisite for. A co-requisite is a course that, for example, say you want to take this course. If it has a co-requisite, it means that there's another course that you need to take alongside this other course that you're registering for. A section is a unique offering of a specific course. So I mentioned a couple courses on the last slide, English or ATWP 135, for example. That might have 15 different sections. So 15 different unique offerings of that same course, maybe on a different time of the day, different day of the week, different instructor, different building, different classroom. These are all indicated in the individual sections. Lectures versus labs versus tutorials. These are all components of a typical course. So when you register for a course, you're typically going to have a lecture associated with it. But you might also have a lab and or tutorial. There will be unique identifying sections for each lecture, lab, and tutorial that you're considering. And all of these sections will be indicated by their own unique 5-digit course reference number, the CRN. This is a big takeaway from the planning for your registration, is the CRN. Because when you actually go to register, what you're inputting into the system are course reference numbers, 5-digit numbers that correlate to a specific section of a lecture, a lab, and or a tutorial. Another important definition would be what is full-time studies versus part-time studies. 5 courses per term would be your standard full course load. 4 courses per term is still considered full-time in the eyes of the UVic Scholarship Office. So if you received a scholarship that had a condition that you must be a full-time student enrolled in 12 units for your full academic year, then as long as you're in at least 4 courses per term, that satisfies that requirement. 3 courses per term is the requirement for financial aid purposes. If you're on a student loan program, they want you to be a full-time student, you need to be in at least 3 courses per term. As well as the housing office considers you full-time as long as you're in 3 courses per academic term. Here's a visualization of what you want to be thinking about when you're registering for a specific course. So does that course have a prerequisite? Is there a course that I must have completed before I'm eligible to take this course? Is there a co-requisite? If I register for this course, is there another course that I'm supposed to register for alongside this? Does this course have a lecture component? Does it have a lab? Does it have a tutorial? If so, I need to register in a section for each of these components. Some resources that will be quite helpful as you go through the program planning process. Program planning worksheets, program outline worksheets. Those are a visualization of all of the courses that you would take to take the most efficient route through a given academic program. The academic calendar is full of course descriptions showing details about these individual courses. Do they have a prerequisite? Do they have a co-requisite? Is there a lecture, a lab, or a tutorial associated with this? How many units of study will I earn if I take this course? All of that is indicated in the academic calendar course descriptions. The academic calendar is also a source of academic regulations and policies. The online course timetable shows you when these courses are running that you are considering registering for. So when the course timetable is available, when you look up a course description, you can then click through and see when is this course running? What are the different section opportunities of this course in this fall term, for example? There will also be registration tutorials that are recorded, that are available on our website. They are essentially snippets of this presentation that appeal specifically to the course registration and program planning process. So when you're looking up program planning worksheets or program worksheets, this is the page that you will find yourself on. These are broken down essentially by faculty, and if you're looking for a specific program that you're considering majoring in, then you would pull up the faculty that it's a part of. For this example, we'll use humanities. So here's a list of all the programs available within the Faculty of Humanities. And if you were looking for the history program or the history major, you could click on that. And this is what the program planning worksheet looks like. You'll notice this is in the Faculty of Humanities, Department of History offers the history major, Bachelor of Arts program. And the layout in year 1, 2, 3, and 4 of all the required courses and elective courses available to take to meet the requirements of this program. Here's another example of a program planning worksheet. This is the software engineering program in the Faculty of Engineering, laying out the courses that you would take in this program. You'll notice that there are many more specific courses indicated in this program planning worksheet. There are more required courses in this program than you'd find in the history program.
And here's the program planning worksheet for the visual arts program in the Faculty of Fine Arts, just showing that there are many different layouts and styles of these worksheets, which are all communicating the same information essentially. That is, what courses would I take to take the most efficient route through this program and achieve this credential. When you're on one of these program planning worksheets and using it as a planning tool, and you're wanting to find out more about a given course, does it have a prerequisite? What does Art 103 mean? Or what does Math 102 mean? What is that course title? When is it offered? What is the unit weighting? This is where pulling up the academic calendar, specifically the courses section of that calendar, comes into play. And you'll find that many of these program planning worksheets are hyperlinked straight to the academic calendar, so you could just click on a course code and it will take you to the course description. But if that's not the case for the worksheet you're looking at, then all you do is pull up the courses section of the academic calendar, and you can look these course codes up individually and learn everything that you need to about a given course. So with that, I'll show you a couple examples of what those course descriptions look like.
So here's the course description for Math 102. A brief description of the course. What is the unit weighting? This is worth 1.5 units. How many hours on a per week basis are there associated with this course for lecture, lab, and or tutorial? So there are 3 hours of lecture, 0 of lab, and 0 of tutorial for this course. There's also some notes indicated here, as well as prerequisites. And when a course timetable is available, just below this section that we can see on the screen here, there will be different term offerings of this course. So you can click on the term that you're looking for and find out what different sections are running during that term of this course. Here's another example of a math course. In-depth description, some units. This course also has only lecture, no lab or tutorial. Here's another example, another description, course unit weighting. This one does have a tutorial. So there's 3 hours of lecture, 0 hours of lab, 1 hour, again, on a per week basis of tutorial. Some notes there, some prerequisites, as well as some department recommendations associated with this course. Now again, when the timetable is available, then just below this section, you will see there'll be a blue box. You can click on it to see when is this running in the fall. And if you click on that timetable, or you pull it up, there's other ways to pull it up in the online timetable directly. You can see the different sections available of this course. So for Calculus 1, there are several different sections indicated here. And to find the details of these individual sections, you look under schedule meeting times. It talks about when that course is offered, every week, what are the hours of the day it's running, what are the days of the week, what building, what room, what term, is this a lecture, is it a lab or a tutorial, and who is the instructor for this course. You'll also see under lecture schedule type, it will indicate the delivery method. Is it face-to-face instructional method, or is this an online delivery course? So what you're doing when you're going through this is looking at a time and day that will work best for you. And you're plotting this out on a piece of paper or a blank timetable, which are available on our website under the Registration 101 section. But you're building out a timetable. And once you find a section that works best for you, you write down the 5-digit number indicated at the top, right beside the course title. So the first one, Calculus 1, 12063, that's the course reference number, 12063, for this specific section of this specific component of this course. Because you'll remember, or you might remember, that Calculus 1 was one of the courses that had a tutorial associated with it. So when you're on this page, looking at the different sections, you want to continue scrolling down, because it will start to show you the tutorials available for this course. So these are indicated by a T, so Math 100 T01. You could see in the schedule meeting times under schedule type, it says tutorial. And similar to the lectures, it tells you the day of the time of day that this course is offered, the day of the week, where it's located. Instructor is still TBA. So you will do that process again and look at these and see which one would work best for you, and write down that course reference number for the section of this tutorial that you want, because you will input that when you actually register. So it's worth putting time into building out these timetables, because you are effectively painting a picture of what your day-to-day during the business week is going to look like for your semester. So this is an example of somebody who maybe they're a morning person, so you want to have classes, hit the ground running, start at 8:30 every morning. Leave your Thursday evenings open for 5 hours of quality television programming. You want to build in these things outside of your academic life because you are not just a student, you're a person, and you have things going on outside of your classes that you want to factor into your schedule. That's one of the nice things about being a post-secondary student, is that ability to structure a schedule that more suits your best learning style. Here's another example of somebody more in line with myself, maybe, who something that happens before 8:30 or at 8:30 in the morning is less than appealing. So you can have no classes start before 11 a.m. You're still working in these things outside of your academics, as well as building in structured study blocks and study groups. Maybe you have a big project that you're working on and you want to set aside some time every day or every week to work on that. Build those into your timetable.
Some program planning tips. Explore your course options. There are many different options out there, both different courses and then different sections of courses. So whether it be a required course or an elective course that you're trying to find, understand and expect to spend some time seeking these out and finding the one that is right for you. You'll also want to look up your courses and find out the details about when it's offered, what your schedule would look like, building out your timetable, factoring in things outside of your academic life or outside of your in-class time or in lab or in tutorial time. Build your timetables well in advance of your registration date and time. When your registration day arrives, you want to be ready to go to just input course reference numbers for stuff that you've already researched and know is the right plan for you. You don't want to be when your registration time arrives, you don't want to be just starting all of this. You want to have done some legwork. And if your course has a lab or tutorial associated with it, just a reminder, you need to register for a section for any labs, tutorials, and or lectures that are associated with your course. We're into course registration. How does that work? So in order to be notified when registration is available, you need to have submitted your $200 acceptance deposit to accept your offer of admission. Now, there will be emails sent out that will indicate to you that you have been assigned a registration date and time. That date and time will not be indicated in that email. It will point you to the course registration status to find what your unique registration date and time is. So you'll go to your My page using your Netlink ID to sign in and see your registration date and time. The course timetable will be available at uvic.ca/timetable. And course registration will open June 22nd. That will be the earliest date that anyone will be assigned to register for their courses. So if you've not already done this, this is how you would sign into your My page. So on the UVic homepage, on the top right, there's a button Sign into UVic. You'll input your Netlink ID and your password. That will take you to a page that looks just like this. And on the left-hand side, you'll want to click on Student Services and then click on Registration. That will pull up this list where you can click on Registration Status to see your registration date and time, which will be very specific. It will be something like June 23rd at 9 a.m. And you'll want to be here on June 23rd at 8:50 a.m. ready to register for your courses. Before sections of courses fill up, you want to be having the highest degree of control over what sections you're ending up in based on all that time that you put into building your timetable and finding the sections that work for you. You don't want them to fill up by waiting a few hours or a few days to go in and register. You want to be ready to go when your registration time hits. So on the date and time of your registration, maybe 10 minutes before, you want to be right back on this page using the same method to sign in. And instead of clicking registration status, you're going to click on Add or Drop Classes. It will take you to a screen that looks like this.
where you're choosing the term that you want to register for. Now, just as a quick side note, you're going to be registering for both terms at the same time. So during your registration window, you'll first come in and register for your first term, September to December 2020. Once you've completed that, you will come back in and register for your second term, your January to April courses. It's important to note that you can still make changes to these courses after you've registered for them, but you need to register for both terms at one time when you come in and register for all of your courses. So you're in here for the first time and you click on first term, September to December 2020. It will take you to this page, and this is where you're inputting those CRNs, the course reference numbers that you've painstakingly researched and written down, so that you just put those in. Takes as long, as fast as it takes for you to type them in if your handwriting is clean, and then you click submit changes, and you've registered for those courses. This is a summary page, and you might want to do a quick review to make sure that you have registered for the courses that you intended to, or the sections of the courses that you've intended to, and make sure everything is good. If you want, I mentioned that you look up classes within this platform, this registration platform. So when you're on the registrations tab, you can click on look up classes, and then under course search, you'll look up the course area that you're considering, maybe psychology. You'll then confirm that you do indeed want to search for psychology. And it will pull up a list of the available courses in psychology running during the session that you have indicated when you first signed into this registration page. And if you're interested in Psychology 1, 100A, you click on View Sections, and it indicates all of the different sections of this course. You'll notice that red circle around the course reference number for section A01, so you'll want to write that down if that's the one that you're interested in. So this is another way to look up individual courses.
If you wanted or needed to drop a class or a section of a class, then you would come back to your registration summary page, and just under the column heading action, you would click on one of the boxes for the section you're looking to get rid of and change that to web drop. Ensure that you've hit submit changes, and once you've clicked that, then you will have successfully dropped that course. If you are waitlisting a class, then that means that you're attempting to register for a course or a section of a course that as of right now is full, in the hopes that enough people will change their mind about that course to, and people do drop out of that section or change their schedule around so that enough seats open up that you're able to get off of that wait list and into the course. When you're doing this, you register for the waitlisted class, but you also want to register in a fallback class. So that just in case you're not able to get off of that wait list and into the class, you have a class to take that term. Once you've done that, you'll want to check your email very regularly, because this is how you'll be notified that you are the next one on the wait list and that you're able to go back in and register for that course officially. If that does happen and you're notified you're next on the wait list and you go in and you successfully register for the class that you were on the wait list for, don't forget to drop the fallback class. You don't want to accidentally be on the hook for a course that you had no intention of actually taking because you got into the class that you were waitlisted for.
Some registration errors that might come up. Time conflict means that you're trying to register for a course during a time when you've already committed yourself to a section of something else, so it won't let you do that. Prerequisite warning is just that. It's letting you know that there's a prerequisite for this class, and don't take this class unless you have the prerequisite for it. A level restriction means that you can't register for this class yet because you're you're a first year student and this is a fourth year class. Department permission required means that you have the opportunity to reach out to the department specifically to ask for permission to take this course. It won't let you register for it as a default, but you can reach out to the department or the instructor and request specific permission to register for it. And program-specific registration dates, some programs will have specific registration dates where you are only able to register for this class later on in the summer. For example, in visual arts, maybe a course is available to register for all visual arts students right off the bat, but only becomes available to students outside of the visual arts at a later date, just as an example of what this might look like. Some tips for registration to keep in mind. Register, like I said, as close to your assigned date and time as possible. You don't want to wait a couple hours, let alone a couple days. Register when your time your time window starts. Register for both fall and spring term classes. That means your September to December and your January to April classes at one time. You have to change the selected term. Identify and register for any labs or tutorials. Always hit submit changes when you're performing an action on that summary page, whether you're dropping a class or you're adding course reference numbers. Make sure that you click submit changes. If you're on a wait list, stay up to date. Check your email every day. And browse the online tutorials. Again, we'll have recorded versions of this presentation and small subsections of it so that you can refer back when you're getting closer to your registration date and time. So if you forgot what I said about how do I drop a class, then check out the video that has to do with that. Some supports and resources that are put in place. Academic advising is very helpful. I would highly recommend already having done some groundwork, doing some program planning, looking at those worksheets, considering where your interests lie, what were you admitted to, what courses do you want to take, building out a potential timetable for yourself prior to scheduling an appointment with academic advising so that you're getting the most out of your time in meeting with them. They can provide some terrific guidance and avoid big pitfalls or provide you with suggestions, but you don't want to go in with a blank timetable and just say, I need to register. You need to have a bit of a plan when you meet with the academic advising experts. The Center for Academic Communication is there to assist you in anything university communications related. I mean, for many of you, this would be the first time that you're submitting an essay at a post-secondary level, or a research report, or a lab report, or a case study. For example, these are just written communication examples, but the Center for Academic Communication has some supports and information that is very helpful in helping you getting the most out of your university communication. Courses and workshops. There are actual courses, for example, this one, EDD 101, Learning Strategies for University Success, which you could take. It's a credit or a unit weighted course that can count towards your degree, that provides you with some study tips and learning strategies that can help you get the most out of your time as a post-secondary student. There are also workshops and information sessions and all kinds of different topics that can help you, with effective note-taking strategies, or how to read a textbook effectively, or study strategies. As you progress further on in your program, workshops on preparing for the MCATs or the LSATs, these standard entrance exams for graduate level programs. So keeping an eye out for these is something that I would highly recommend. You're not going to be forced to take part in a workshop on how to take notes effectively, but when you're a university student, that is a skill that is very helpful, and taking part in a workshop such as that might be something to consider. Contacting your professors during office hours, whether that be virtually or in person, I can't stress that enough, as an opportunity to ask more questions, maybe express interest in topics that you are covering in the class, or try to receive some further clarification on topics, or maybe express interest in research. Maintaining that connection with the professor is something that can add a lot of value to your time being a university student that I would highly recommend exploring. And then registration help, kind of the one-stop shop as you're registering. If you have a logistical or technical error come up, or a bar to, you're not able to register for this course, but I don't know exactly what this warning means, student support at uvic.ca would be your one-stop shop to get those questions answered. So the Center for Accessible Learning, if you have a documented barrier to learning, you could reach out to the Center for Accessible Learning as early as possible after you've registered for your courses. The idea being that if you've had an IEP, for example, we want to ensure that any assessments that need to be in are in and up to date, and any supporting documentation is available and up to date and submitted to the CAL, the Center for Accessible Learning, so that any accommodations that can be made are ready to go for the fall semester. Counseling Services provides individual and group services to all registered students. The First People's House for Indigenous students studying on campus. This physical building holds many of the supports like the Campus Cousins program, the Elders and Residents program. The health services, there are health professionals available on campus. The McPherson Library Learning Commons is a kind of a central hub for many of those informational workshops and sessions that I mentioned a bit earlier. So if you're interested in, for example, the Center for Academic Communication, they're based out of the Learning Commons in the McPherson Library. The Peer Connected program is a brand new initiative starting up this year that pairs new students with a senior student leader that's either in your study area or an area of interest. The idea being this is a kind of a person to help with your transition into university life and provide you with a kind of contact point, somebody who has been in your shoes not that long ago and can point you in the direction of various social and academic opportunities, resources and supports that maybe they found helpful. It also provides that opportunity to create a sense of community on campus and that connection between students that are brand new to this experience and students that have been around for a little while. And there are a variety of social and academic platforms that are put in place to help you connect. So there will be more information on this program over the summer as student leaders reach out and connect directly with you. On to some actionable next steps. As a reminder, you are required to accept any scholarships that you receive. So make sure that you have done that if you've received an entry-based or entry GPA-based award. Specific criteria entry scholarships are typically issued once we have received final official grades, so not until July at the earliest. Final grades will be what determine your final scholarship amount. Applying for government student loans, you'll want to start this process in June. Once you've registered for your classes, you want to get the ball rolling on applying for student loans if that's your plan. And then knowing the deadlines to apply for bursaries and work study, you can see those specific deadlines on the Student Award Financial Aid page for bursaries, for example, which are financial aid available to apply for students that is based on nothing other than financial need. You would apply for these and work study positions during the actual academic term. This is not something that you have to do over the summer. Academic advising, again, I can't stress enough the value of booking an appointment with an academic advisor. They are the experts in how these programs work and the flexibility of programs and what opportunities are there for you. Also a great resource to point you in the direction of various workshops and resources and information that can help you get the most out of yourself as a student. So booking these appointments, once you've already done some legwork and created a plan for your courses this fall, as far along that plan as you can get, would be something I'd advise. So this is naturally a very busy process for the academic advising office, so you'll want to reach out as early as possible because it can take some time to get that specific meeting time. So reach out when you can, and yeah. The pre-arrival program is put together by the orientation department. And all students are expected to complete this online pre-arrival program before the start of your fall term. This is it's a series of training modules, essentially, where you can learn what to expect at the university, inside and outside of the classroom. What are some supports and services that you should be aware of, how to access them? What are some strategies that can help you transition from high school or another post-secondary institution into your studies at the University of Victoria? The whole idea being that we want you to be thinking about these things over the summer so that when you start your studies in September, you feel as ready and confident as you can be to start this next chapter. The whole program takes about 4 hours to complete, but you don't have to complete it all at one time. You can kind of chip away at it over the summer. So here are a couple of options for checking out the campus virtually. There's a new campus tour video that was released in May of 2020 that I would encourage you to check out. It's led by two current UVic student tour guides. There's also a virtual tour available at this link that you can check out to kind of click through and check out different areas of campus at your own pace. So either of these options would be a great opportunity to explore what the University of Victoria campus looks like. Now here are the top 10 most frequently asked registration-related questions that were asked during our Registration 101 webinars in May and June of 2020. How do I know if my transcripts and other required documents have been received by UVic? You'll check your My Application checklist page, and if something has been received, there will be a green check mark beside it.
How can I check if my $200 acceptance deposit has been received? You would log into your My UVic page using a Netlink ID and password, and on your My page you would check Account Summary by Term. And under that heading you will see if you have submitted the $200 deposit, you'll see a $200 credit towards your tuition.
Once I register for classes, how and when do I pay for my tuition fees? Well, how to pay for your tuition fees, there are a few different methods. Online banking would be a pretty commonly used method. Your online banking provider set up the University of Victoria as a payee on your account like any other bill. And you would use your V number as your account number. So you might have already done this for your acceptance deposit, but that's a commonly used method. Also check, money order, or bank draft. Those are all accepted methods. When is your tuition fee submission due? That would be, you pay on a per term basis. So your first term tuition fees would be due on the last day of the first month of that term. So in this case, September the 30th would be the deadline for September to December tuition fees. And January the 31st, the deadline for your January to April tuition fees.
Is tuition paid per semester, or do I pay it once per year? You would pay tuition on a per semester basis.
How can I apply to the co-op program if it's not required for my program? You would complete your first year of studies, and then early in the second year of your studies, you would submit your application to the co-op program. Now, depending on the department that you have declared your major in, or what program you're majoring in, there will be GPA requirements set out that you need to have achieved in your first year of studies to be acceptable to the co-op program. But you would apply to that program early on in your second year.
How will I know that I have successfully accepted my scholarship offer? You would check this on your My page. Under Student Services, you would click on Finances, and under that you will find Scholarships and Financial Aid. And by clicking that, you will be able to see the status and whether or not you have accepted any outstanding scholarships.
Are tutorials and labs mandatory, or are they optional? They are mandatory. If your course indicates a lab and or tutorial, they are mandatory. When do I declare my major or minor? The earliest that you would officially declare a major and or minor would be at the end of your first year. You can declare and make changes later than this, but this would be the earliest that you can declare a major or minor. And it's generally advisable that you declare your major at the end of your first year. Which courses can be used to satisfy the academic writing requirement? There are a few courses. There's ATWP 135, English 146, English 147, and Engineering 141 if you happen to be an engineering student. All of those would meet the academic writing requirement. Who can request to defer an offer of admission? Is it for one term or a full year? Deferral requests are considered from high school applicants exclusively. However, in the 2020-2021 academic year, deferral requests from other applicants will be considered on a case-by-case basis. Is it for one term or a full year? Deferral requests are for a full year. There's no partial year requests. So it would be, if you're deferring admission for fall 2020, your start date would be fall 2021. And that concludes the top 10 most frequently asked registration-related questions asked during the Registration 101 webinars that we recorded during late May and early June of 2020. I hope that these might have answered some of your questions and that the Registration 101 presentation helped provide you with some clarity into how all of this works so that you're going into this program planning and course registration process with some confidence. So thank you again for your time and best of luck over the summer as we prepare for your first year at the University of Victoria.